so your objective with Save the Frogs is to, well, save the frogs. How exactly do you do this? How do you achieve this goal? And what type of things are you saving them from?
Yeah, frogs and other amphibians, frogs, toads, newts, salamanders, and the lesser known limbless amphibians, the caecilians. They're under threat from habitat destruction, pesticides, pollution, overharvesting for food and pet trades, climate change, infectious diseases, invasive species. So they've got lots of problems, and that fortunately gives us many ways to save them. So we've had lots of campaigns over the years. We have a webpage, savethefrogs.com/accomplishments, that I encourage you to look at. So I'll say first off is environmental education. We have to educate people so that they know there's a problem, so that they know what they can do in their own lives, and to ensure that politicians and corporations are aware of the problem and inspired or feel the need to address the problem. If they don't hear from their clients, consumers, buyers, constituents, then usually they don't do very much, or they'll do nothing at all.
Living in Australia have any part in your interest in the frog?
Well, I grew up in the United States. I went traveling, backpacking in Australia. After I finished university, I actually studied mechanical engineering as an undergraduate. And then when I was in Australia, I didn't think about frogs too much, but I remember seeing a frog at the Platypus Bush Camp in Yongala National Park, which is a beautiful place in northeast Queensland with rainforest and waterfalls and streams. And it was a interesting sign about protecting the local frogs. And so later on, when I decided that I wanted to return to university to do my PhD research and that I wanted to focus on frogs, that sign came into my head and made me think I should go to Australia. So that's one reason that I ended up there. And then certainly my 4 years or so that I spent in Australia had a significant effect on my nearly 20 years of saving the frogs through this organization, to remain dedicated to the cause and to know that it's important enough to start a nonprofit organization.
You said that you got a degree in mechanical engineering before you decided to go on this path. Do you ever think that you could use that knowledge from that degree to further conservation of frogs?
Yeah, I don't expect to do anything with it other than make use of the, I'll say, mathematical and analytical skills that I gained while doing the degree, but there is a big focus in mechanical engineering, especially with what I was studying, in particular with thermal systems and energy conservation. And I know that one of my friends who has been at a very well-known mechanical engineering company for the last few decades, that's what he does, energy conservation. Actually, I have a couple mechanical engineering friends, and they're both doing that. There are large buildings and companies with tons of buildings, and if you can get them to save energy, then it's got a big impact on the environment. Generally speaking, not frog focused, or they're not frog focused. So if I were to do it, that's what it would be, just reducing the energy needs or improving the way that people get energy, because traditionally USA has been coal powered. I'm not sure what percentage of our energy comes from coal these days, but when I started Save the Frogs, I used to research that, and it was half the country or more, half of the electricity and coal-fired power plants. You may have seen them pumping out lots of black smoke and particulate matter that's really bad for amphibians. So anything we can do to reduce energy usage is going to have a good effect on the amphibians, or is highly likely to anyway.
So you had a degree in mechanical engineering. I keep going back to this because I think this is fascinating. Do you think that if you hadn't come across that frog sign, do you think there was something else that could have catalyzed your efforts to save the frogs?
I'll say I think that had things not gone down the frog path, there's a higher chance that I would be doing some type of environmental work on some other issue, not even necessarily engineering related, and probably wildlife related. I always had a big pull towards science, but not necessarily engineering. When I was at university, I cannot say that professors, not to blame it on them, but I never felt very inspired with the engineering. So that could have been them, that could have been me, who knows. I think my top choice, though, it was not offered at my university at the time, it is now, was environmental engineering. That was not possible until the master's level. So that's part of the reason I chose mechanical engineering rather than my top choice. Top choices were biomedical and mechanical, and they were not offered at the undergraduate level. And then by the time I finished my undergraduate, I was a bit ready to move on past the engineering. And that just happened to be pretty much the exact time that I realized that wildlife biology and ecology was an actual profession, and started thinking about that. So kind of went straight into the change over to, instead of how can I do engineering, which at least at my university struck me as kind of corporate focused, how can I switch into something that's just good for the planet and gets me outside a lot. That was the other thing, I wanted to be outside. Things have changed since I graduated college, and even more so these days, people change careers, and that everyone at your level should realize whatever one, you don't have to go to college. Two, if you go to college, you get a major, you don't have to stick with that forever. And data these days shows you probably won't. So people should be ready and willing to apply their skills and to learn new skills to continue down the career path that is most inspiring to them. They don't have to feel trapped in one career.